Welcome back to the Think Strong pod. Another episode about to go down.
I think this is going to be episode number 23.
Oh,
I think.
lucky number.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah. How are you doing in the last 5 minutes since our last episode?
It's been turbulent. Let's put it that way. The aircon's not really working enough to satisfy my gooch.
Chef de Gucci.
I was trying to think of a more a slightly more
word.
PC word, but it didn't come to me. So you got the full thing.
Yeah, my knee creases are a bit sweaty as well.
Yeah, it's the thing about Bali. It's about 3 to 4 showers a day for me, just to keep it baseline, keep it neutral.
Yeah. Yeah, which I haven't been able to do at home the last 3 days because all of our water's been coming out brown. So we had the tank cleaned. It's a little bit of barley chat first. We had the tank cleaned yesterday and it's back to normal. Hats reported to me a few moments ago, which is always good to know.
Yeah, you've got electricity and water. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, there's been not much electrics recently as it's been a bit intermittent.
Yeah, I mean, there's been literal pylons on fire recently. I don't know if you saw that.
Does anyone know why there's no electric?
Yeah.
And then you just get sent in a group chat a whole pylon on fire.
Yeah, that's probably that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, we were actually on that evening. You were laying on our balcony because it was the coolest place.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, when it did come on after like 5 or 6 hours, you could just hear everyone doing the same that was out in their gardens go, "Whoa." Yeah.
So good. Just like when the waitress drops it, or waiter, get in trouble there.
Waitress them. Waitress them.
Yeah. Wait person.
Yeah.
Drop something and you get the woo. Unless you're American, then you don't have any banter. So.
Then you just have to tip them an extra 20%.
Oh my God, are you okay? Anyway, moving swiftly on.
Anyway, yeah.
We are going to get stuck into some why females should do strength training. I think.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we've got a few points to touch on, and it was by request as well because we put out a little story. What do you want to see us cover? And apart from a lot of explicit comments, there was also a very good one in there from Green Gorilla. Nat, thank you for it. Why women need to be strong for health and not go for the skinny trend. It's quite a funny one, isn't it? Because as soon as Ozempic and Mounjaro became readily available, the body positivity image and the plus size stuff went out the window. It's like, oh, what? I can take a drug and be skinny. Straight back to early 2000s.
I can take a shortcut to what I've been told to do from when I used to buy magazines of women when I was younger.
Yeah.
It's a bit sad, in my opinion.
Mainly because
not that they're doing it. It's just sad the fact that they're still stuck in like a mindset that they've been force fed from a younger age.
Yeah.
And now they can just get to that like readily available and pretty easily. But the health implications are with no strength training and like poor behaviors around nutrition and general health I don't think it's going to bite yet, but it will bite pretty soon.
Yeah, it's like a lot of things. You're probably going to see it a few years down the line, aren't you? But the other thing is it can act as a bit of a mask, right? Because when you are training well, eating well, like even if it is for an aesthetic outcome, these healthy habits that you build along the way serve you well for longevity. Whereas if it's something that's simply suppressing your appetite and your appetite, really, that's all it is, isn't it? You don't have to go to the gym. You don't get the extra benefits of, stronger bones, better bone density over time, like more resilience, more robustness. And you just simply can do what you want. You can still rip darts and go out on the piss all the time. And, nothing changes from that perspective. Yeah.
I think that's the most dangerous thing, is taking people from like a position where they have bad habits and behaviors and just plonking them somewhere where they're smaller but with the same habits. And like you said, what you learn along the journey is trust the process.
Yeah.
Like whatever like you gain from it, it's always like what you learn within that process is always better. than actually getting to that kind of destination. And I've spoke to like loads of people that have like used whatever it is, GLP-1s, and like how they feel like after they come off it, and they just go back to feeling fucking hungry again. And then it's like, if you haven't changed your habit, and there's no education around like how to come off of it. So it's like, they just go back to how they were anyway. It's like,
should we share a funny story about our mate Jamie, who
yeah, let's do it.
who's using Manjaro despite all of the warnings? He insisted on it, and he wanted to give himself a bit of a send-off meal. Do you know this story?
No, I don't think
He wanted to give himself a send-off meal, like, because he knew that his appetite was going to take a massive dip. So he went to some Greek place and had a massive gyros. Started the Manjaro that night, and then woke up with like really quite bad gas and like bad breath, and then he said that it just got worse and worse and worse because it was just sitting in his stomach rotting, and he was like burping, and it just smelt like rotting food in his stomach, and he said he ended up not leaving the house for however many days to try and just go undetected.
Oh, so
nice one, Jamie. Keep up the good work. But that's a warning for people out there that are trying to give themselves a send-off meal.
Yeah, I mean, like, even with, if you suppress your appetite, like, you become, it makes you become tired as well. Do you know what I mean? And then like, if you're tired during the day, and then you don't want to train, and then that goes out the window as well. So it's the knock-on effect of everything, isn't it? It's like, people were saying about like the dopamine hit of hitting food, but I think the research has come out to say that that's not like. I saw one guy on a podcast, funny enough, higher up wellness. I think he was with Chris Williamson. And he was like trying to make that point, but I think it's already been debunked.
Right.
Which is like why it's important for people to look at the facts properly.
And the other thing, from like even ignoring the calorie deficit side of things, the reason why, you know, your body needs calories is for its most basic functions as well. And your body doesn't stop needing that stuff just because you're on this you're on this drug now. Like you're switching off the signal, but it doesn't stop needing it. So you're still putting yourself into this obviously massively depleted state, not just from a fat burning point of view, or putting yourself into a deficit, but also there's a lot of potential there to not even hit your basal metabolic rate, that base level of calories that you need just to exist. And
people are people think they're doing this like the right way. It's like just the mindset people are in. It's like, start on a small dosage, see a bit of change, up the dosage, see more change, up the dosage. Then they're like, yeah, but I'm still training. And then I know somebody for a fact that is using like in-body scan, and then their scan was like, okay, fat was coming down, all muscle mass lost.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck do you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're trying to, there's no point starting to train when you're on it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how long does it take to build muscle? Fucking ages. And they think that like offsetting it by just doing a little bit of training is gonna.
By doing Pilates.
And the recommendation is don't do any like high intensity cardio. So like that, and by that they mean anything more than walking. So how is that good for your health? Do you know what I mean? It's like, so if you look at Reta, for example, that obviously elevates your heart rate because it increases your metabolic rate. That's why the side effects are like poor sleep, anxiety, and all of these things, because you're obviously at a heightened state. Just like anyway, and then they're like, don't exercise until you just walk. It's like, it's not really that good for your health, is it?
No.
So like the positives of it are good if like it's an obesity drug. So if you are obese and overweight, it could be really positive if you take the lifestyle factors and integrate them, and it's used to a certain point. That would be like the caveat to it, right? It's an obesity drug, but normal people like mine and your size are taking it for an aesthetic purpose, and it's only going to be detrimental to them. Whereas like the other people that do actually need it because they can't fucking do what they need to do, you can get them from there to that point, and then maybe they can live a bit of a better life. That would be, do you know what I mean? I don't think it's all bad, but if it's used in the right way, then it could potentially have positive outcomes.
Yeah, I think there's got to be the right use case for it somewhere along the line. But to be honest, it's hard to reason that. Like, even with people that are morbidly obese, they as well still need that positive change, don't they? They still need to have a mindset shift. They still need to learn the tools. They still need to do all these things. And, you know, if they had done already and they didn't need to learn those things, they wouldn't be in that mess in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, yes, there is, you know, there is potentially emotional things which might be causing someone to eat in a certain way to block something out, but that's still going to be there as well. Like, you still need to get over that hurdle, and realistically, pardon the pun, getting over the hurdle, but
Falling over the hurdle.
yeah, maybe with a massive
Rolling
dose
under
of
it.
Manjaro, you will go over the hurdle. No, but the point is that you're going to have to work through these things, whether you are, you know, on this drug or not, and by the time you come off, providing there's not like lasting damage, it's still going to be there. It's still going to be there even with lasting damage. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You are
Like, is it a fad that's going to drop off?
Unfortunately, I don't think so, because where you've got people that are not willing to do the necessary work, which I think for all of our lives we've probably known people like that and been aware of people that are like that, people that are willing to take somewhat of a shortcut. I think you always have that as an option, or people utilizing that shortcut thing.
Yeah.
Obviously it is slightly more common for females, so that is why we were kind of touched on that to start with. But obviously when we talk about what women actually need for strength training, there's a bit of nuance there, but there's also not a great deal of change which needs to happen as well. We've got considerations for like maternal factors. If you are going through the stages of pregnancy, then there's considerations that need to be made there in terms of intensity, in terms of movement selection, in terms of how you're
different
managing
stages of their like trimester and laxity and stuff like that will start to creep in. But also depends on all the other shit that would be a consideration from a normal client. Training age, training experience, what's their background, what job do they do, have they already had a previous child, all like different considerations like that. Do you know what I mean? Spotting red, yellow and green flags, whatever they might be. Like, are they doing an exercise that's causing like leakage? Okay, that's a red flag, stop straight away, whatever. Is there like mild discomfort? Yellow flag. Okay, maybe we'll just regress the movement that they're doing. Talk test, heart rate, whatever it might be, position that they're working through. Like, coaching pregnancies seems like this fucking very difficult thing, but it's not at all. As long as you understand like the basics on it. And you can coach the person in front of you. Do you know what I mean? And ask the right questions, and they can be honest and open with it. But same training principles apply.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, although movement selection might change on a case-by-case basis depending on like a symptom or something they might be showing, for the most part, providing there's not like something stupid, like, you know, in a final trimester where you're asking someone to do a movement where they're putting massive amounts of pressure on their midline, like, you just wouldn't do that. But in terms of programming basics, what you still be asking from people is still going to be squat, push, pull, hinge, lunge, rotate, and probably, you know, not straying too far away from the normalities there. Outside of pregnancy, obviously, potentially adapting things for people in different parts of their menstrual cycle as well. That can be a bigger factor for some people than it is for others.
Yeah, definitely.
Some people don't even bat an eyelid, don't change at all.
Yeah, I'll just get on with it.
Yeah.
You'll have some females that will like feel it a lot more, but not always in the same part of the cycle either. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some people break the cycle into 4 pieces, some people break it into 2 and say that the first bit, like whatever it is. So through the bleed, some people feel like stronger, others feel weaker. And then like when they're ovulating, some people feel great, some people feel terrible. So just like it has to be an open conversation with the person. I mean, you coach loads of females and I've coached thousands and they're all just like completely different.
Yeah.
But having the awareness of like their own cycle is really important, because if they don't know, then they kind of get disgruntled. Oh, it feels heavier today. Okay, where are you in your cycle? Oh, don't know. I've never tracked my cycle.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, can give you a bit of a question.
It's like this happens every month.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably a good idea to pay attention to the peaks and troughs of your performance, and you can construct training around that. I've literally programmed 4 people's cycles specifically as well, even if like that's not the way I would normally do it. Like I would maybe apply intensity in like a more gradual way, or vice versa, like doing it even more gradually.
Yeah, definitely. I have an online client now. When she started with me, she would only train for 3 weeks and have 1 week off, because that was what she thought was good. And that was like a pattern that she was in. And I was like, how do you actually feel like during that week? And she's like, oh, I feel all right. I was like, well, maybe let's do some very low intensity body weight movements and bike, see how you feel. Now she trains every week of the month. But we just adapt, like you said, around it to something that can suit.
Yeah.
Because the positive is that they're still moving and training.
Would you say that from the female coaches that you follow and have seen on Instagram, would you say that you see enough of that nuance being spoken about when it comes to managing the cycle? Because I see a lot of female coaches saying, "Oh, don't do X, Y, and Z. Just don't." If you're at this point in your cycle, I don't see the nuance saying, if you feel good, do it. I see a lot of restraint, pull back, which can be okay. That can be right in like it's right point for the right person. But yeah, I don't see a great deal of, if you feel good, fucking get on with it.
No, I think because online, the fitness space is pretty fucked. Of not using a better word than that. You'll see them people like, I'm a menstrual cycle coach. Do you know what I mean? This is how you should do this. And like we said, there's no like nuance, like if you'd feel good, then train or whatever. I think there are good female coaches that do talk about it in nuance, but they probably don't get the limelight as much as someone so polarizing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's the other thing. We're not saying that we are like keeping tabs on the whole female coaching community.
Yeah.
Just from kind of what I've seen, like that's one of the biggest things in fitness is always it depends, isn't it? But
I think they also glorify the other way. So like if you look at Tia, she's like heavily pregnant doing like kipping, handstand push-ups. I'm like, why do you ever need to do that if you're pregnant? You don't.
Yeah.
And putting that out online is like, can be very detrimental to a person that's like not at a level of a capacity that she might be at.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like the question is always like, why? Like, why is it worth the risk? Do you know what I mean? The baby's heart rate is like higher like than yours when you're the athlete anyway. And then it's like, if your heart rate is through the roof, then it's just.
Yeah, I think with
just
pregnancy in particular, like that, there's almost a bit more responsibility as to what's being put out there as well. Just by the nature of it, you're responsible for someone else as well. You are, you're in this weird position where the risk to reward changes completely because the training, the importance of the training is so much more diminished because of the time off that is actually going to be involved, whether you like it or not, surrounding the pregnancy. So it kind of flips things on its head. Where we look at the menstrual cycle, that's obviously something that happens every month and there's a bit more consistency to it. And like we said, there's more nuance probably between people, which could be explored a little bit more online as well. But what we're saying is on the whole, there's nuance to things, but it's good quality strength and conditioning training at the end of the day for females. When it comes to trends, obviously Pilates is absolutely huge.
Pilates maxing.
Yeah, which on the surface I don't see anything wrong with, but it's when it becomes the personality of people and it becomes the primary training method, and that's absolutely not what it was designed for. Out of interest, do you know where it came from?
I think from like a hospital setting.
Yeah, I'd say you're on the right lines. So it's rehabbing World War One soldiers. The German side it came from, and actually the reformer side of it was associated with the hospital bed and like practicality of getting people moving, stringing up cords and stuff, and utilizing like the facility around the bed to get people moving, which is interesting. And although that's got some really good restorative benefits, benefits to it, it kind of means that if you are positioning that as your primary training method, you're effectively doing rehab for amputees as your primary training method.
So good. It's just there's no like stimulus for growth.
Yeah,
that would be like the main kind of thing you would bring into that conversation, right?
Yeah, like the main kind of challenge that there is for Pilates is like if it offers a legitimate like physical benefit and benefit for longevity, is that there should be a mechanism for you proving that, and Pilates would then contribute to one of the physical traits that contributes to longevity, to better physical health overall. But like the biggest markers generally are like quality of sleep, aerobic capacity, and physical strength. And although there is these markers that people talk about in terms of like, I don't really want to say mobility. Sometimes they say mobility, but they say alignment a lot of the time, or postural benefits. Realistically, they're not markers for longevity or health.
Yeah.
You can be incredibly healthy and have terrible posture. You can be incredibly strong and have terrible posture. You can have great aerobic capacity and have terrible posture. Most people that do have great aerobic capacity do have terrible posture. Yeah. Unfortunately, those two metrics don't really match up.
Yeah. I think when people use that as like, oh yeah, I'm improving my mobility, it's like you're not really creating any change or putting strength into an end range position, because you're not adding load.
Yeah.
Like flexibility, yeah.
Yeah.
You're becoming more flexible. Yeah, I don't know. Most people that say they do it for the reason of mobility, you then put them back into a loaded position and they're still fucking shit.
Yeah.
And they can't get out of the bottom, or they can't get into the bottom because they don't have any strength there. So it has to be a bit of both. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it can be good as long as it's paired with, which is kind of what you were saying at the start. It needs to be paired with something instead of just being its own training modality that you choose.
Exactly that. That's obviously the thing that gets left behind, because it becomes this nice kind of friendly way to exercise. I think low impact, but for the same reason, it's not challenging you in the way that you need to be challenging to make legitimate significant progress, which is actually going to contribute to those things. I hear a lot of like, oh, it improves my stabilizer muscles. And it's like, all right, what are they then? Like, name some stabilizer muscles that are getting sufficiently trained by having like 0.5 of your overall capacity being challenged in
it does tick off like 45 to 60 minutes of self-obsession by looking in the mirror though.
I've actually not been in the studio, so I didn't know that. Are there mirrors in front of everything? That's to make sure your alignment is good.
Yeah, it's just a big tick.
Thank God my alignment was good. That's not to say that like improving your posture is not a good thing. Like, it can potentially contribute to movement quality, but that is still not a like an actual metric, is it?
Yeah, but then it's like, how do you change posture? It's length tension relationship.
Yeah.
So you need to add load to the tissue that's lengthened or shortened.
Yeah.
To bring your posture back to normal, which you're not going to do by doing no weight on a track.
On a sliding board.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that kind of nicely sums up our opinions on Pilates. Moving swiftly on, let's get into some principle versus application chat. Bit of a funny one here. It's obviously out here we mix with a lot of coaches, and sometimes that can be a little bit informative to us in their understanding of certain things. People who are like desperate to convey that they have an understanding of both, but a lot of the time they almost expose themselves because they've quite obviously not had experience like in that environment. A lot of the time I see coaches talking about like optimum all the time, or picking apart or critiquing things, but they have never strayed away from like their standard program, which they deem as the best, and it might not even be particularly challenging for them. I see a lot of people that never stray away from back squatting with 4 sets, one session per week, and they think that because they've watched sufficient YouTube videos it gives them enough maybe, I don't know, experience within the world of strength and conditioning to start critiquing different methodologies or even different sports with something like CrossFit or High Rocks. But if you've not put yourself in that position, I'm almost feeling as though I'm being a hypocrite here with not trying Pilates, but I think we can gather enough from the fact that from the methodology being shown for actual adaptation there that we're pretty safe on that front. But when it comes to training methodologies and things, there's a lot of coaches which are not exposing themselves to enough of a different stimulus or a different way of doing things, but are still kind of holding the ground with some strong opinions on stuff. I don't know if you've experienced that.
Yeah, I think people just haven't tried a lot of things, but they have an opinion on it. If I like think about what I've done, tried pretty much every sport that I've had available to me, tried strongman, tried CrossFit, tried High Rocks, tried whatever it is, long distance running, short distance, track at schools, just like try every sport possible. Throwing events, jumping events, whatever it might be. That's how you kind of formulate and gather like ideas on like how to try stuff, maybe with different clients, and how to program or just like try different things. And not just, like you said, get stuck in that kind of like dogmatic approach to programming. Like every client that you meet is slightly different. It's like, people will just die on the hill of like trying to teach someone how to do a perfect squat. And it's like you could just move them to a split squat where the load's going to be distributed a bit nicer. Still a squat pattern. And then you might ask them to go back to the squat in a couple of weeks and it'll probably look a lot nicer.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? Some coaches will just be like, no, I can coach the perfect hinge in this one session. It's like, no, fucking takes ages for people to learn how to hinge properly. Even when I do an RDL now, I'm still thinking consciously always about what I'm doing. Pressure in my feet, how much my knee's bending. Did my hips stop there? Am I gaining from like my lower back? It's like, and these coaches think that they can teach someone who's never done it before in one session how to hinge perfectly. It's like, can you expose yourself to how to teach that differently across the weeks?
A lot of over coaching like that comes from a place of not understanding the practicality of things sometimes. Yeah. It's like, yeah, this thing that you're doing might not be optimum, but it's still going to activate your hips in a certain way so you can go ahead and perform a good level of quality when it comes to this squat, where you need to hit a certain level of intensity, which might be the primary driver or the primary outcome for that session. But you know, that over coaching really kind of shows its head sometimes when you've got people, whether it's critiquing a movement or performing the most complex warm-up drill you possibly can, when you could have achieved 95% of that with something which might not even need to change week to week. And
so like one of the biggest things I see here is like a couple or two friends will come into a class and the one person might be a little bit inexperienced, and then the other person will like try and help coach their friend or their partner, and they'll be like, grab the bar here, pull the bar here, push your bum, and I'll just go over and I'll just be like, squeeze your armpits. The bar will just stay where it needs to be in their body. And they're like, oh, that was so simple. It really helped. And it's like, if you just know the cue, it's like that overcoaching just like, it's gone. And you can just simplify everything. But I see it all the time. We see it like in open gym as well sometimes. You'll see someone like just fucking bombarding people with words.
Yeah.
Or something to think about. And it's always verbal normally.
Yeah.
Just like verbal diarrhea instead of giving them like... There was like... Reika was in class today and then she was like doing a split jerk but really short step in her front foot. And then her bar was like aligned here and then the gym floor line in the floor mat was there. I was just like, get your foot as close to that line as you can. And then she just like reached for it and was like, bang, straight away. Didn't have to tell her like, I need you to think about punching under the bar and like moving your foot into this exact spot. So just get close to the line.
Yeah, I think we alluded to it before, but I always find that Olympic lifting, when it comes from a place of solely Olympic lifting, are really good at making cues practical because they're not obsessed with anatomy. They're not obsessed with like the place coming from like a sound coaching cue that they've heard before. It's just practical and it gets you to do the thing. And if you do the thing and you reach that position, you're going to be doing all the other things by default. So I've always appreciated that. And I think, yeah, you're right. Like I find myself doing it sometimes where I purposely say to people, that's all I want you to think about, because there might be 3-5 potential cues you can give. Sometimes I'll give people more than just one. Other times it's like, no, if you start thinking about all these other things, it's gonna break down and there's gonna be no change whatsoever. So even if there is more things down the road that need to be fixed, it's about understanding that hierarchy a little bit as well. With what we were talking about in terms of kind of understanding principles, understanding their application, and how sometimes people might have a mismatched understanding of each of those. I think, how do you think that relates to like the hybrid world? Because I see a lot of coaches that are in and surrounding this hybrid training, which sometimes feel as though that gives them the right to critique legitimate preparation for sport, whether that is like a functional fitness based sport, whether it's something like CrossFit or even High Rocks. It feels like it gives them the scope to then critique all of these things, and realistically their knowledge base is 5% of like the potential there is for preparing for all of these different things. Even if we're talking about GPP and like a massive umbrella of things, the potential like overreach, I think, is quite often seen.
Yeah, everyone just has an opinion, don't they, on how things kind of should be done without looking at like, I don't know, High Rocks is a bad one. Like people just, and the hybrid world at the minute, it's like not really hybrid training, is it?
I've got that in the notes here as
well.
Do
you know what I mean? It's like, I know people are like going on about it a lot. It's like really you're just not that strong, but you're doing strength training, which like is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But it's just the label that they're giving to it, right? Because like if you ask somebody to run sideways, like or do karaoke laterally, they'll probably break down after like 10 meters because they just never train in the frontal plane.
Mm-hmm.
But they're supposedly hybrid. Or if you like ask them to climb up a rope, they wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
They could climb towards a sled, maybe. Excuse me. But yeah, I don't know. It's just that they can't think outside their box, can they? It's like they're not really that fit and they're not really that strong, but they're classing themselves as hybrid. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a funny one because High Rocks specifically has become this entity really quite quickly, and maybe the people that got into it straight away were the people that kind of trained variously and had these various skills up their sleeve, and they could find that adaptation in their training quite easy to do, and that kept them, I don't know, maybe that served them well. But as it's become its own entity, as it's gained in popularity, I think maybe people are coming over to it, overestimating legitimate concurrent training, because they can do a Hyrox, which is like, not saying it's a bad thing, but when you look at the actual scope of hybrid training and concurrent training, it's like first rung of the ladder, because strength training complements running and complements Hyrox in general, whereas the legitimate concurrent training is training adaptations which don't complement each other, which could still be strength, could still be running, but they're going to be further ends of either spectrum. So it might be training for an Olympic weightlifting competition or a powerlifting competition and then doing an ultra marathon. The people have got to understand that those things are not the same, and them overreaching into other things, trying to convey knowledge. See it a lot with CrossFit, to be honest. Coaches that have not had the exposure to it but feel as though they have the methodical knowledge behind it, it's almost showing their lack of understanding and time served in and around that environment. I think like we would both agree, like neither of us are like elite athletes, but we've put ourselves in the positions where we've had exposure to being around elite athletes, to being around elite coaches as well, and to be in environments where we can understand the practicality of both coaching and training. And I think that speaks for a lot in terms of developing your knowledge base.
Yeah. We see a lot with the hybrid training thing, coaches saying that like if programmed appropriately, that it can be achieved like well. But then you see the same people that are doing the program break down so quickly, because it's like there has to be some level of periodization. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, they'll do an accumulation phase, but they'll go into intensification or like realization, whatever label you want to call it, but with everything at the same time. And then like it's just a melting pot where everything's going to break down at some point. You can't like increase your aerobic, your threshold, your tempo, and your strength training and hypertrophy all at the same time, and skills. And that seems to be what people think they can do. Is like, yeah, they've periodized it, but it's just all the same. It's not like undulating where like, okay, the skill work could probably be higher here, and then like lower intensity here for your strength stuff or whatever it might be. If you look at people like Ross Edgley, which we would probably say is a hybrid athlete, he's never trained for everything all at the same time, but he's done completely different things throughout the year. But that's because his training's been in line with that one thing at a time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like the benefits of the qualities he's built for this, say the swim, would then translate into this, but he's not still swimming every fucking day to carry a washing machine or a log on his back for a marathon. But like the aerobic capability he's built there will carry over.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people kind of get, like they think hybrid is like doing all the same qualities at the same intensities all the way through like a periodized approach, and it's like it's just not sustainable, because all the coaches that are saying it are the ones that fucking get injured and they're back to doing med ball rotations in the warm-up. It's like the answers are in your own training, what you can see. You shouldn't have to warm up for fucking 20 minutes with a med ball to get ready for your session.
Very true. It works in both ways, I think, with like preconceived notions of like total volume as well, in terms of people underestimating certain things. People think that you can come from a mindset of maybe a field sport where your gym work is pretty much always, especially in season, minimum effective dose, because you want to stimulate that strength. You might use your accessory work to like build your armor or whatever it may be. And that's kind of that. And then people come over to maybe the world of CrossFit and it's like, oh, okay, the volume is higher, but okay, we still want to be fresh for the weekend. We still might be making these considerations, and people just don't understand what these CrossFit athletes are actually capable of unless they've spent time around them, time programming for them. I've said before about like like sometimes more is better, and that preconceived notion of constantly refraining from adding volume can be quite harmful when it comes to expressing or performing the sport, because sometimes you're going to be tested on your actual tolerance of volume, especially in like a gym-based sport, and that durability is going to be tested. Whereas coming from a different background, that might absolutely not have been the case, but you think it's going to plug and play into that. Although it's gym-based, although you still need to generally physically prepare, that applies, but that massive difference in tolerance is going to be exposed, and that's one of the examples of how you might understand the principle of generally physically preparing, but that application for a different use case is going to leave you miles off it.
Yeah, I mean the double session thing with CrossFit is very applicable. Like in a day, you might have 3-4 events potentially. Mm-hmm. High Rocks is always one event, and depending on how good you are, an hour to 90 to 2 hours if you're shit at it. It's like, why are you doing double sessions, really? Do you know what I mean? Unless you're at the real top end. If you're aspiring to get there, you got to be pretty close to getting there to do a double session, in my opinion. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like the volume doesn't need to be there so much in that sense.
Even then, I think even if you are doing High Rocks and you're training with using double sessions, it should probably only be used to avoid like an interference effect.
Yeah.
So you're training some different qualities.
Yeah.
I think even with CrossFit, with most people that are doing double sessions, is that sometimes you might have a slightly easier, longer conditioning piece, and then do maybe a Metcon like later on in a second session if you're prepping for a competition.
Yeah,
but
that's what I mean. If you're coming to a comp, you might do like a comp sim over like a few days, but even then you're still gonna have more rest than you would on the day. But in High Rocks, it just seems, I mean, some people are doing double races, which like you're gonna have to build tolerance for that, but just some people are doing like double sessions and running 1:45. It's like, it's the fucking point. If you just trained harder in the one session and recovered better from it, your whole training week will be better, and then the outcome will be better as well. It's like no point having double sessions if you're losing the quality of the work. Yeah, which like is happening quite a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the marker normally. Like if you are on the cusp of wanting to change from a one long session to a double session, is the quality dropping off? And that needs to be your marker.
Because the goal should be like to split the session to improve the quality.
Yeah. Not split the session to then still be working with diminished quality by the end of your second session.
Yeah, I think that's like the most important point of it, right? It's like, okay, if you want to do like aero stuff with good quality, split it from your stuff so there's no interference effect. But then if that is affecting the second session where you might potentially be doing like some strength, then you can't adapt to the volume yet, and you've got to start somewhere a bit smaller potentially.
Yeah, 100%. Look, final subtopic. That was a good little rant from both of us there. Ownership, and how the things that we say as coaches do hold relevance, and sometimes they do need to be acted on. It's not just kind of hearsay, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like we don't know everything, but in your field of work, you are like you have some expertise. I'll use an example. I have a client. He has a shoulder issue. Always thumb facing in, so internally rotated, and shoulder extension as well. He hasn't surfed for a while, but he's very, very high level surfer. I had a session with him, did like a full shoulder assessment, everything. Got him out of some pain over a couple of sessions. Then he said, I'm going away. He said, I want to have a little paddle and see how it feels. I said, do not paddle under any circumstances. One, when you swim, you're going to be in internal rotation, pushing against something you have no control over, water, in a place of chaos where you have no control, in shoulder extension as well. He went out and paddled because he wanted to. He messaged me 2 days later. Shoulder has completely regressed, and said he went out for a paddle in that setting. And I'm like, cool, but you're gonna have to learn the hard way there. So it's like what your coach says does hold some weight, but now he's back to square one, and he's in a bit of a pickle with his shoulder, to be honest. So now, like, we're strength training just on the one side until that settles down and eases. But yeah, like, you have to take some ownership of it. You can only lead a horse to water. You can throw the horse in the water.
Yeah, absolutely. No, spot on. And that it's trusting your coach enough to not only listen to them, but also act on what they've told you to do. Because I think there's a lot of good listeners out there, but yeah, not everyone's acting on what's actually required. Which leads us nicely into kind of complexity of certain injuries, and how a lot of stuff is just load management and being intelligent with, obviously there is restorative work to be done, whether that is to strengthen a certain range, to reteach a movement maybe, but load management is probably one of the biggest things. I was using an example to you earlier about how one of my clients messaged me this morning and really sent me like quite a heartfelt message, because they were feeling really, really grateful from getting back to a place where they could actually perform like high volume deadlifts again under legitimately testing intensity. And that was not something that she has been able to do for like probably the last year. And like what I said to you, it came from just gradual progressions, moving perfectly and being really, really patient with how we were doing things, and just implementing the basics with like cutthroat execution. Having the patience to be willing to buy into that process led us to that point. What experience have you had with kind of load management, and how do you think it's relevant?
Yeah, I think like what you mentioned there, first of all, is like teaching the movement correctly, movement execution. Like, people often think that they can do the movement fine. They think a squat is a squat and a deadlift's a deadlift, or hinge. Often not the case. There's always something that can be altered or improved. I had 2 people yesterday that have had like severe back problems for a while. One of the girls, I just put her on the belt squat machine, but just with a shorter handle to move through an RDL. Like, she hasn't got to worry about the barbell moving away from the body or dumbbells. Cables pulling straight up, straight down. All she's got to think about is staying tight and hinging. And like, first time she's done a hinge in like a year and a half, 0 pain. Could just feel her glutes and her hammies, which is awesome. And it's like, can you put someone in a stable and safe environment and allow them to build confidence? Because like you've probably felt this as well with QL. It will be like, your body will just be like, nah, don't do that, straight away. And until you can get the body and tell it that it's safe in that environment, then it won't do anything. So yeah, movement execution, can you coach the movement a little bit better? And then, because a lot of people are just unaware. I had a girl this morning in CrossFit who was like just rolling onto the outside of her feet for her deadlift and pushing that way. And I was like, I don't want you to push your feet all the way down. I just want you to try and like control the arch of your foot a little bit better. She's like pretty well trained. Like, she knew what I was talking about. And then at the end of the session, she came, she was like, that really helped me today. Like, think about pushing more through my feet. So it's like about giving them the awareness of that, but then them actually, like the point you made before, taking action on it and just like, and doing it. This is another example of a guy. This guy called Peter is like, I don't even know how tall he is. He's so fucking tall. That was my PT. I'd stand looking at him like that. And I was like, oh, how's the body feeling today? He had a bit of a back niggle. And he's like, oh, my hip. I can really feel my hips today, like in a good way. And that's because when we did like split squats the previous day, heavy, his back toe was like turned out. So his hips like externally rotated. So I was like, turn the foot in, control the position of the knee. So he's like using internal rotation more so. So the hip's working harder. So it's like a stimulus and an adaptation that he's got from there. But he was like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. I was like, remember when we adjusted your position on the split squat? So then they're like, when you're coaching, it's like you can always link back to that. And then they're like, oh, now I understand why that's happening.
That goes back to the practicality of things as well. Obviously, what you said about pushing into the floor a little bit more. We spoke about drills and how things can be overcoached when it comes to getting the stimulus of the workout, but also the stimulus of the cue. Sometimes that can be a big factor in improving that awareness. And if that's all you need to do, then the more simple the cue is, the better, because it's going to be more actionable. You didn't say pronate your feet inwards or like use any technical terminology. You said push into the floor, and that's the most, even for someone that's highly trained, if you can understand that straight away, you can implement it straight away and hopefully to a better outcome, which again, if you are regressing something, to give someone a more accessible movement so they can build that physical confidence in whatever they're doing if they are managing an injury. Again, something that's very, very valuable. So I think that the basic side of it, the practicality of conveying that even to a rehab movement, which might be like a bit more technical, has massive relevance as well.
Yeah. I've been like said to the people on the course that we just had, I was like, I use up, down in weightlifting, catch, jump, nothing technical.
Yeah.
It's like, even today I had one guy and I was like, okay, from the floor to your knee, push. That's all I want you to think about. And then he's like, that is my problem. He's like, oh, my hips always pop up early. And I was like there and he was setting up and I was like, push, hips stayed down, did a beautiful clean. And he's like, cool, I'll just think about that today. I was like, fucking one word, push. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's what we were talking about earlier, just those simple cues at work.
There's a good example of when you were on a seminar and some guy said, what was it, down position and then hinge, and it was I can't remember what the word was.
The top of your tibial tuberosity. It's just fucking...
That was either a really well-structured joke or it was just completely...
Even he was the only person laughing about that after the day on the course. Like, oh, did you see their reaction to that?
Did you want to touch on how you said that you were kind of coaching someone into a head coach role and offering a bit of advice on that?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
So one of the guys we had on the course, MJ, had a call with him since leaving here and going back going into his new role, and was talking about like how he can have a bit of a bigger impact on the community overall, but then have a really good impact on the coaches around him. One thing from like my experience of being in a head coach role and a senior coach role is like the best thing you can do, in my opinion, is like show people how they should show up, not tell them. So whether it's like going onto the gym floor early, interacting with the members, building relationships with them, like just being like on time or before time, setting things up. If you're lucky enough to have a floor team like we do, ask them to help get things set up. Ask the other coaches what they want to do in that session or what we're focusing on. Like being prepared is probably the biggest thing about coaching in a big space like I'm in. But like just actively like showing up and like showing people how you think they should behave on the floor, rather than just like pointing and telling people or watching over them and like in an overbearing kind of sense. We spoke about that a lot with him, because like sometimes if you're already at the same level as a coach, but then you're like putting into an elevated position, if you go in like a bulldog in a china shop trying to tell people what to do, it doesn't really rub off that well. But if people can see that you're like, oh, okay, Az is doing that, maybe I'll do that. Do you know what I mean? And it really helps that way, just like showing up that way. So we spoke about that a lot, and we spoke about it here also. And he said that he's been doing some things, and then like people are starting to like change their warm-ups and the way they do it, and just like really little things flow that become a little bit more professional. And then I spoke to him more about the community side and like different events. So I gave him like a list of workshop stuff that he could do, all kind of stuff that we cover on here as well. So even if you have an online hub, so to speak, female fitness, he could do an event on that. You've got like female pregnancy, menstrual cycle, endometriosis, all these different things that affect females that you could do workshops on. A Hyrox workshop, just an erg workshop, compound lift workshop, like all these different things that you can go through. And then different community events, whatever it might be, seasonal events, Christmas, Halloween, Easter, whatever it is. A hiking event, like he's a coach in Sydney. I was like, can you like do a trail run or Blue Mountains or whatever it might be? Trying to think a little bit more outside the box.
Path.
Yeah. Get on the beers. Whatever it might be. Like there was like so many different things that I gave him to do. And he'll start integrating them. He's like, he will take action on the stuff that I spoke to him about. But yeah, there's so many options like when you're in a position like that you can kind of pull from, which is cool.
Comes back to a bit of ownership as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Difficult maybe if you go into that kind of head coach role, if that is your first experience with that. But I think almost treating it like it's your own rather than just a job with more authority.
Yeah. It's
going to put you in better
I think
stead.
that's like the biggest thing. Like if you try and wear the label, it doesn't rub off very well.
Yeah.
But if you can just act as if you are in that position, as a guide and a leader, then I don't know. I just always have felt with good leaders that I've had, they've always like showed like how to show up properly rather than told like, this is what you should do. This is how it should be done. They'll be like, this is how I do it. And then you'll see it. And then it might be take what you think's good and leave what you don't think.
Yeah. Nice. I think that's a good place to wrap up. Very, very interesting insight into another part of the kind of the course, really, because I suppose people won't have seen that side of the mentoring, even whether it's on social media or wherever people might have had contact with the academy. It's not just kind of teaching people how to coach; it's also teaching people how to be a bit more effective in their role as well, which is cool.
We did loads of like feedback stuff as well, so like how to give feedback. Put them in situations with like people that are pretty awkward in that situation as well. Having difficult conversations with people can be quite a challenging aspect for a lot of people. And like if you can't do that on a professional level and you get put into a position where that needs to happen, it can be very difficult. Like if you're a coach on a mate level, but you get put into that position, it's like, how can you have that professional boundary with the person? So yeah, it's important. Nice.
That is the episode wrapped up. Thank you for joining us once again. Do all the usual stuff. If you can support the pod, like, subscribe, share, and we'll keep building.
Yes. See you on the next one.
See you in the next one.